content. If you like what you've seen so far, or this is your first time here, check out our page. If you enjoy it, subscribe, continue. That way you can see the new content that comes out, new props, so you can potentially build them yourself and give them a shot. Because not all these props need to be purchased. This is just a bag I had that has one of my juggling balls in it. And then I tie a rope to it. I give myself a poi handle, not to indicate where my poi spinning distance is. I do that just by pulling it, seeing where my face is. Then the rope extends, so that way when you're wearing it, it's barely touching the ground. When you wrap it, I think I have an extra knot in here right now. So you gotta watch out for when you tie knots in your prop, because they'll show up as other knots and then they'll shorten the prop. There we go. And then I got two knots up here that are my collarbone knots. And then they wrap in my other knots. So, you can make this one first, make these knots, then make these knots. So that way when you're holding it, you can pull on the knots and you can create tension across your body. That way there's no slack points inside the rope. And then you can tie the extension rope, leave enough rope so you can tie it to your bag, or you can weave it right into a latch or something to connect your other poise. I have another version of fire poise that's like that. And I'm using these so that way you can really see the ends through the different motions. And so if you checked out the rope dart video, you would have seen the beginning of this already, so you could fast forward a bit and skip it. But I'm going to be showing the beginning of puppy hammer, meteor, oxbow. So meteor is kind of a real short version of this, and oxbow is a real long version of this. And I think a puppy hammer is this length version of this. So, there's kind of some debate about what the props are and what they mean. But if I tie them together here, this would be meteors. And if I made this longer, so that way it couldn't touch the ground, or it would touch the ground and lay on the ground, I'd be restricted in my my side and wall planes a bit if I wasn't shortened. So a lot of the actions become transverse motions that are above your head, and you're using it like a staff, and it's real big, so you have a big range that you're working with. So these are puppy hammers. I think it could be a different name, has something to do with the guy who renamed it or defined its nature. So crisscross. So here's our wrap stake. Okay, I just wrapped in by taking it. You're holding tension on one end, because if you don't, when you throw it, it's going to go slide around a bit. It won't slide too much, but if you hold it, then you can take this end, throw it under your arm, put your arm out, and catch it. You can also wrap into it first and get it over your elbow to your hand, and throw it up and out and catch it on the bottom end, and then try to throw it back in the way it came. I call that loading and unloading. Okay, we can do that on both sides. Load, unload. Let it hang over your neck and pre-wrap into it. You can guide it up over that elbow if you'd like. And then throw it up and out. Try to catch it. Throw it up, in, and load. Alright, so that's our loaded position. We're going to take one away, where we're going to hold it loaded, so that way I have the same tension as if I had both. And we're going to start practicing with just one end. So if you haven't watched the poi video yet, you should check up on the poi video, so that way you'd understand wall planes, side planes, transverse planes, overhand, underhand, perspective, counterclockwise, clockwise for us now, clockwise for you still, counterclockwise for me, still an overhand here. When I come over here, if I look this way, oh, back to an overhand. If I look this way, underhand. All right, so that could be enough. That could be all the poi you need to understand how to do puppy hammer. So you may not need to check out the video. Just practice those right there. Your TikToks into your spins. Put your windmill on any of your planes, any of your perspectives. Hold it, sustain it, transition it. Don't hit yourself. Or hit yourself and use that as a bounce back to continue. General briefing on poi and tension props in general. Now we're going to let it go. The essence of this prop is not holding it. And so we're using our elbow now to guide it back into our TikToks through a windmill. My forearm is like the pusher here, so that way I can push it away if I need to, not let it hit my face. And back here, I'm using my triceps. Let me spin around so that way you can see the back side. If I catch my elbow in, it will wrap again. So I'm trying to not catch my elbow in it. Now we're just guiding through our different spins and transitions that we know in poi. Okay, that was another wrap there. So I'm in my traditional body. When I come up, I can catch it on my elbow and extend into it, and I'm wrapped. I can do it less fancy and just stick my arm out and wrap. The elbow kind of helps place where it's going to go on that first wrap. And you can see if I wrap and stay on one side, I wrap deeper into it. If I come back into my 2-beat, it stays equalized there. If I stay here, it starts unwrapping. As it gets bigger, I need to put more body energy into it. I need to throw my torso, my chest into it more. Whereas it wraps, I can just utilize the spin and twist of my arm to move the energy. Now I can use the spin and twist of my elbow. Now I have to use the whole spin and twist of my chest. So it's a real nice prop for utilizing the full body. And we can always pull back to our hand. So we just grab any spot of it, we look for it, grab it, extend out, and we have our poi area. So we can start our poi stuff, have all of our double pois, and then we can release one. You know, practice on both sides first, obviously, whatever I just did on the right, your left. And then mix it in with a poi. So see how you can control it. The important thing here is really try to get the tension down and hold on the front side of that knot so it's not slipping, and to get your knots in the right placement. So now we're practicing that 2-beat weave with extra beats, side weaves and stuff like that, you know, butterflies. Or we can cross weave and bring these into each other. All extensions of that poi practice into what we were just doing here. And then we can do a full body release. So we do both, counter time, release one, release the other, guide with the elbows. Right now I try to practice self-similar, symmetric moves, because they line up together and they nest well together. Or when I break self-similarity, it gets a bit chaotic. So it's fun to do because I like playing in the chaos realm where I don't know what's happening. But I can't really classify anything in that area yet. So here's a 2-beat weave. If I'm looking from this end, my arm's doing it in an overbeat nature, my right arm. And if I'm looking from this end, my left arm is also doing an overbeat, or overhand. So I'm doing 2 overhands, wall planes, split time, single rep rotations. And I can add the elbow in and then bring it back down. Add the elbow in bring it back down. See? Started breaking planes, so I added a forearm in on the bottom end. So elbow, elbow, back. Elbow, elbow, back. So I'm going to try a 4 now with that, adding in a hand spin on the bottom. So I can go from the 2 to a, whoops. Patience. Alright, so let's go into the 4. So I have the front. Time boot. And see, that's what asynced 1 wrap versus 4 wraps can start ending up looking like. Their spacing gets a bit off, and their rotation speeds get off, and gets real interesting. So I'll leave that as the explanation of wrapping quarter beats. We'll do a forward one too, so instead of a wall plane, we'll do our side plane 2 beat. You can see how that operates. It's a bit more about forcing it with that arm. So we'll dial down to 1 so again so you can see it. Getting that tension spot, coiling up the rest. And I'm forcing it to really cross my body and land next to my ankle as close as I can. And I can stay by catching the hand. I can stay here. So it's still kind of a side plane because my body's sideways. But once you're doing both, a wall plane, because my body turns sideways during it, my feet are still facing forward. And as I do both, see, this is a 2 beat. 1 hand staying over the top. I can stay and cross. And go into my 3 beat. Cartwheel spin. So from that 3 beat, if you go to the open posture, spins, then you can re-collapse it or reopen it from any direction. Re-grab your hands and dial back into a realm that makes a bit more sense. Alrighty, so we're going to switch into a different plane now. This transverse plane here. Quick intro here. It's like spinning a big pizza. You hold it in the middle, it's balanced and it just sags. There's nothing being pulled to drag the other. If I hold it in the middle and I rotate, they're both going to go out together. And here I'll untangle it to make sure you know that's not just because of the tangle. So I'll separate them. And they just catch up with each other. They're in the same frequency. So if I take my collarbone knot and I hold one of those, I turn this into a staff, and I lead with my thumb side, and I keep grabbing that same node and pulling the rope in front of it along, it will increase its frequency, increase the tension, and that tension will drag the back end with it. If you start getting off and they start coming together, you walk towards the center, you can flip the other one on top and then switch to the other side. So you gotta look real closely. I'm on one node, I'm moving center, I flip it on top and I grab the other node. Any spot in that is a launch point. So if you release it like I just did, it will fly out wherever your arm is trajectorying it. You can also make it do a trampoline effect, which I haven't super perfected, but I can show how to launch it. Maybe not how to direct it. Maybe it will be directed. It'll be awesome. So we're doing our pizza, helicopter, pulling our node. Trying to find the spot where our hand doesn't feel like it's really slipping. It likes it there. And then you give it a little lift up, down, and then back up. And it has a spring effect where it will bounce up, down, up. I'm not quite sure if it's up, down, up, or just down, up. So let me try down, up, see its difference. Okay, and that makes it launch. And then the key to the trick is to get the launch to go where you want it. So you either pass it or throw it up to yourself. But it's not working out right now. So that's the starter ground for Puppy Hammer. Do as you will with it. Wrap it. Get tangled with it. Try to guide it without your hands. It's the contact staff of poi and meteors. So, also suck it in. Hold it together. You can do this with your two pois as well. And practice keeping them apart from each other. This is what I'm doing in the air as well. So I'll show on the side plane for the last move. But there's a lot you can do with these two if you can learn how to keep them together, keep them untangled, and manage them when they do get tangled. Okay, one last move, the pizza move, but on the side plane. So I'm going to start doing my 2 beat while holding it, not weaved in. I'm going to let that extend out. So both hands are holding it. And then I'm going to let one hand do my lead. Works a little bit easier with just balls on the end. There's I can feel a lot of drag from the bags. So I'm letting it go. It's a great extended workout with the drag. You really gotta pump the energy. Oh, you saw it go for one cycle there. Let's see if we can get it going for two. Too much drag. So stay tuned. Maybe it'll be another video later with less drag and regular poi at the end, so we can really get that thing pumping and moving. Thanks for joining me again. Hope you enjoyed it.